All right, no
Here's
subtitles.
Jimmy Dore. And again, like, you know, we were just talking about sometimes your living depends upon a certain perspective. Here's Jimmy Dore talking about, you know, really, you want to talk about depoliticizing people. Here's Jimmy Dore on his take on the slightly expanded squad.
I don't care if Cory Bush just got elected and fucking Jamal Bowman and the squad, and they're there to fake you out. Progressives inside the Democratic Party are there to fuck you up and fake you out. They're not there to help you. So this idea that somehow now Cory Bush and Jamal Bowman is going to somehow add to the heft of the progressive caucus is just a pipe dream, because now you have 6 people or 7 people who are kind of progressive inside the Democratic Party. What that does is gives a false signal to workers that the Democratic Party is an opposition party. It is not. They are there to give you the false impression that it is. And that's why AOC is at the party. That's why Cory Bush is now in the party.
It's going to be, listen, it's going to be the fake oppositional party so long as we have corporate-backed Democrats in these seats that give us the veneer that they are in stark opposition to the Republicans when they are not. The squad are members of the opposition. They fight the establishment Democrats, for God's sakes. What's he even talking about? As long as Nancy Pelosi and the like are in office, yes, you're right, Jimmy Dore. But don't conflate the squad with the likes of Nancy Pelosi, for fuck's sake.
Over this fucking party. That is not happening. Those people are head fakes inside the Democratic Party. More power to Cory Bush. It's a fool's errand to send you into the Democratic Party. You are going to be squashed. Hey, the Democrats just got Cory Bush and Jamal Bowman. We have expanded the squad so that now we have more progressives who will do exactly as Nancy Pelosi tells them.
So proud of himself.
You think AOC has the balls to call out Nancy Pelosi?
She literally just did.
All right. Well, we got. Yes. I mean, she's literally just did.
She just on the eve of Biden's victory had the balls to critique the Democratic Party on cable news and in an extensive New York Times interview where no one else is doing that. But yeah, let's vilify the only people who are fighting for us.
Yeah. In that New York Times interview, she makes a point saying, like, I don't even know if I want to do politics because of what the Democratic Party is doing to her. The point is, she's actually proving that, right? Like, she's actually doing the work to, they might run her out. I hope she doesn't. I hope she's, like, you know, in this for the long haul. But, like, she's actually doing the work. So if you do have that perspective, you actually can't just sit on a YouTube show predicting stuff and shitting on people.
No. It's so much easier to just be an outsider and critique the people who are doing the hardest thing imaginable, standing up to both Republican and Democratic establishments and doing it without corporate money from the ground up. But no, you get to feel morally superior because your Patreon subscribers are paying you to just crap on Democrats. No, Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard is apparently his alternative.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. The true champion of the working people who's going to stick it to Pelosi, who's on her way out of Congress.
Who endorsed Biden?
Yeah.
Here's what's also sort of just incredibly nihilistic about it. First off, as that gap between Republicans and Democrats decreases, right, the power of the squad goes up. 6-7 votes, are very close to making a majority. Now, if this moron, who I think at last check was, promoting the Green Party, if this moron wanted to use any of the massive audience that he has, he would have the Green Party or help a Green Party congressional candidate. Because all you need now is like 3 or 4 of them. And they could be basically leverage those 6 or 7 people. This guy, we'll talk about depoliticization. This guy has such a complete disregard for the politics that exist today. It is literally like just saying, like, he might as well be talking about that, I know people are flying in planes now, okay? But air flight is not real until humans can fly. I mean, that's basically what he's saying. Like, they're not really flying. They're in planes. When humans can fly, then we are flying. I mean, put up. I want to. This is also what is I really got me going today. Put up that tweet. I spent an hour on the phone with this guy when he called in because he was upset that I was mocking him, or not mocking him. Actually, to be fair, I was actually taking him quite seriously. I can assure you that during that interview, and people can go back and look at it, I was getting IMs from people that I care about saying, don't be too mean with him. Do not destroy him too badly. Literally, the quote was, don't take the headshot. Even though it was just sitting right there throughout this entire debate with him, where his whole plan was that Hillary Clinton was going to lose. And then at the time he was like, and then we'll get Elizabeth Warren in there. And the Republican Party is going to destroy Donald Trump and they're going to fall apart. We're going to win in 2022. We're going to win in 2018.
Yeah.
We're going to take over.
That's why Trump was better for progressives than Hillary Clinton.
We're going to take over the Supreme Court because these Democrats, who I think are feckless, are going to finally build a spine and take over the party. I mean, look, because I was arguing like Democrats are feckless. They're not going to be able to stop 3 Supreme Court justices. And he told me that was the equivalent of the moon, worrying about the moon falling in Lake Michigan. This guy is so stupid when it comes to politics. I'm totally in favor of him holding a sign up and promoting any of his causes. But his analysis is completely disempowering. If you as a progressive, and even if you're like, frankly, like I mean, I can understand to a certain extent if you're radical to the point where you don't want any of this to exist, that's fine. That represents, with all due respect,
look at Jamie because she's thinking,
very,
yeah, I'm kind
very
of
small portion of the American populace. But for now. But be that as it may, the idea that there is no value in having a slowly growing band of insurgents who have taken out parts of the Democratic leadership, right? Mm-hmm. And there's no value
AOC,
there.
for example.
Then there's value in what exactly? Go put it.
Cori
This is
Bush,
amazing
for
because
example.
he's attacking that Dilbert dude. And Scott Adams says one Trump accomplishment that no one credits him for is getting the public to be more engaged in the political process. This was literally like
his
one of the
argument.
talking points of Jimmy Dore's at the time. It was like, people are going to care and there's going to be a revolution because Donald Trump is going to be so horrible. And my greatest fear was like, I've been down this road before. I know what happens after you have a horrible Republican president. You get backsliding on the Democratic Party. And he goes, one accomplishment of lung cancer is that people now care more about air quality standards. Yes, a lot of people think I'm a wicked smart. That's exactly what I said to Jimmy Dore. I didn't use that analogy. That would have been a good one. But this guy is so turned around in the BS he's espousing. I mean, what is his...
Well, this is what happens when we're talking about depoliticization, as you mentioned. This is what happens when the consequences of politics are not intertwined with your commentary on politics. It's all about which team and which personality you don't like, and Nancy Pelosi we all don't like, so everyone's under the umbrella of her, and God forbid AOC called her mama bear one time, and yet substantively on the actual issues she's combating her regularly. So he's going to demonize people of color and women, all of these people who are being brave and bucking the party establishment, so everyone can kind of feel angry and direct their ire towards specific personalities, divorcing that from the ideas that they're pushing and the material conditions on the ground of how they would help people in Congress. But now they're on the same team as Pelosi, and we don't like Pelosi, right? So discard them.
It's a very simplistic analysis, obviously, but I will say
I
am deeply agnostic about electoral tactics as a way to
we're not talking about electoral tactics. We're not talking about electoral tactics.
Yes,
we're talking about legislatively and how you build power within a party. And within the context of the Congress, if I have 7 votes, if I have a block of 6 or 7 votes, and there's a 12-person majority, you can put yourself in that fulcrum. We have seen time and time and time again where like so-called moderate Dems or conservative Dems in the Senate have done this. Joe Lieberman did it with the Affordable Care Act. If it wasn't for Joe Lieberman deciding he needs to be the power position, he was just doing it so that he could make sure that he was relevant at that time. But we would have had a 55, you could buy into Medicare at age 55. Now, that is insufficient, but I can tell you 2 years from now, 1 year from now, that would make a big difference in my life, buy into Medicare. I mean, a huge difference, and particularly in like a situation like COVID, where you have a lot of people who are age 55 who can't get back, or after the financial crisis in 2008, you can't get back into the job force. The idea that you could get health insurance, we should have Medicare for all, but the difference is substantial. And to not acknowledge or recognize how our government works, like this is why he is like Alex Jones, because he's basically saying the only solution to this is down this sort of wormhole where you just realize there are forces that you cannot combat, even if you have people like Cory Bush or AOC. Like what is, if it's not the answer to build that power,
what's his?
Well,
what is the answer?
This is what I'm saying. What he's saying is vague enough so that there are probably smart leftists out there who might be like, oh yeah, I guess I kind of agree with that. But you need to put forth an alternate plan to build class power and to create progress. And that is something that he has not done. Yeah. Right. That is different from like my recent Antifa against angry workers. They are deeply skeptical of Jeremy Corbynism, the labor movement, and its ability to, I mean, they failed to mobilize working class voters.
Yeah, same with Bernie Sanders.
And they were saying, hey, what should we do instead?
Remember, during the primary election, you had huge cohorts of voter blocks saying, I did not think that Bernie Sanders would be able to accomplish all of his policies that he was bringing forward to the table in his campaign strategy. Therefore, I thought it was best to be pragmatic about the likelihood of seeing any legislation passed by a candidate who would be most likely able to beat Donald Trump, and that seems to be Joe Biden. Based on the fact that he was Barack Obama's vice president, we know that Barack Obama was able to somehow pass the Affordable Care Act, so let's go ahead and put all of our votes in favor of Joe Biden because he seems like the more reasonable choice. And so, yes, that is true because we have gone so long with neoliberal austerity measures that we do not have faith in our progressive candidates to a certain extent, which is why we need to have more AOCs. We need to have more Cory Bushes because once we have a real progressive consensus in Congress and the ability to pass sweeping legislation, then that's whenever the tide shifts. That's whenever we start to make major changes that do improve the material conditions on the ground. Until then, it is going to be an uphill battle. It will be infighting within the Democratic Party. It's going to be corporate-backed establishment Democrats versus the progressives in this country, right? Bernie is a clear centrist. Bernie's not a clear centrist. Bernie was a visionary. He had populist ideas that so many people could not even envision themselves. All right? That is the problem. We have become so accustomed to neoliberal austerity, a wage gap comparable to the 1930s and the Great Depression. Wealth inequality along racial lines, along gender lines, that is the issue. We have been conditioned into accepting these terms. We have accepted them for so long that the idea of a Bernie Sanders administration seems so far-fetched that people just thought that it wasn't even real. It wasn't even a real viable option from a political perspective, from a legislative perspective. Knowing that our two-party system rarely accomplishes anything from a policy perspective, from a legislative perspective. Think about how hard it was to even get the Affordable Care Act passed, and how the second that Donald Trump got into office, he started to rescind Obama-era policies like that. The prospect of seeing something taken away from somebody probably weighed into their ultimate decision-making as well. Every single thing that Obama did when he was the president was pretty much revoked or rescinded or shut down the second Trump took office. And Trump promised to repeal and replace Obamacare. He stripped away every single Obama-era EPA regulation. The right wing loved the ACA, like on the Supreme Court. Listen, you realize that a lot more people didn't hate the ACA. A lot of people still think that the ACA is separate from Obamacare, right? You still have some really silly billies out there thinking that I hate Obamacare, but I love the ACA, brother. Not knowing that it's one and the same. So again, that just goes back to partisan favorites, partisan favorability, partisan favorability, where, you do associate, there is some association between like your party of choice, the party in which you affiliate with, and those policies. So that just goes to show that the blood sports of partisan politics is part of the issue. Part. Do you think if a right-wing candidate was in favor of Medicare for all, we'd have any issue passing the goddamn thing? No. And what we learned in the first years of Trump's administration is that a lot more right-wingers realized that they benefited or their life depended on the ACA. So it was real interesting whenever we started to see those town halls where registered Republicans were showing up to their Republican politicians' town hall and saying, if you don't keep the ACA, I will never vote for you again. I struggle to see a likely path for transformational legislation. It's going to be hard whenever, we're constantly like in the semifinals over here, progressive versus Democrats. And guess what? Establishment Democrats. And right now, the establishment Democrats are winning just because there's more of them. All right, Sim Daddy, chill, okay? Chill. What'd you think of Nina Turner? I fucking love Nina Turner. What are you talking about? I fucking love her. We know it is. That is why a lot of us watch independent media. Why haven't both of the Georgia senators been put in jail for insider trading? You put Loeffler and you put Perdue in jail. Guess who has to go to jail with them? Dianne fucking Feinstein. That's the reason why they're not in jail. I wish Bernie had the fire and charisma that Nina has. Yeah. Well, who knows? I don't see Nina Turner going anywhere anytime soon. Even if they get a 50-50, you still have people like Manchin, Feinstein, and others to think is true. That's true. We have 4 more years of Joe Manchin. So Joe Manchin has voted in favor of 51% of all GOP agendas, right? 51% of Donald Trump's decisions, his confirmation, his appointments. Ow. So, yeah, you can guarantee that Joe Manchin's 100% going to caucus with the GOP in many, many respects, because he has thus far. More times than he has supported Democratic agendas. Play the vid or no peace. I gotta get used to this desk. I keep on knocking the shit out of my leggies, and I'm like shaking my entire setup. Joe Manchin just needs to. That's what I said. Listen, I said this, and like I don't know if this was too inflammatory, but I was like, if Joe Manchin would come out of the closet and be like, I'm a Republican, like nobody would be surprised. Everyone would be like, yeah, we know. We've been waiting for you to come out of the Republican closet for so fucking long. We're just now going along with it. It's ridiculous. It's like, come on, get on out here. Get on out of here, Joe. Just admit it, you're a Republican. Defund your butt indeed, Joe. In the past week, Feinstein called on McConnell to stop bringing judges up for appointment during the lame duck. Also, this past week, Dems who voted to confirm at least one Trump judge this week. Feinstein, 2 for 2. Manchin, 2 for 2. Kaine, 2 for 2. Tim Kaine, I'm assuming. What's this? Run as a Republican then, asshole. We need him as a Dem if we want the Dems to take the Senate and screw McConnell. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not going to matter if Joe Manchin ends up caucusing with the Republicans. That's the whole thing. Joe Manchin is literally he's the least reliable. He's one of the least reliable Democratic senators we have in Congress right now. It's a toss-up. We never know. We need him as a Dem. We need him to think ideologically or even ideally as a Democrat, but he doesn't. He is he wavers back and forth. He has no ideological grounding whatsoever, that he just wanes back and forth in his decisions. Sometimes he's just wholeheartedly acting like he's a Republican. Sometimes he's a little bit more Democratic. You just never know. And this is what we call the centrists, the moderates. And we do not have some crazy socialist agenda, and we do not believe in defunding the police. So shut the fuck up, okay? Yeah, obviously. No, West Virginians would rather die in their fucking trenches than ever support policies that would make their lives better. Joe Manchin is too busy accepting corporate PAC money from his daughter, Heather Brash, CEO of Mylan Pharmaceuticals. You know, the generic pharmaceutical company that has contributed greatly to the opioid epidemic in West Virginia. Yeah, that one. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous that he has the fucking gall, the nerve to speak out of turn and to fight back against a socialist agenda that will do more work and would do better things for the West Virginian people than Joe Manchin could ever do. What AOC and the rest of the squad are promoting right now would literally save so many West Virginians' lives. That is what's hilarious. A Green New Deal, a jobs program, Medicare for all that would address the opioid epidemic in West Virginia, a homes guarantee. You know that we saw that CNBC projection where 40+ million people were at risk for eviction. Do you know the state that had the highest number of at-risk tenants? That's right, West Virginia. All right? West Virginia is poor, it's sick, it is uneducated, there's no economic prospects whatsoever. There is no hope for West Virginians at this point. The person or the people, the group, the coalition that is right now slated to do the most for West Virginia, the fucking squad, the socialists. So shut the fuck up, Joe Manchin. You don't know shit. Dumbass. Crip Single, thank you so much for the follow. Cue the banjo music. Sorry.
Okay. Here's what this is. So our Dave Anthony is a friend of the show, has been on the show before. He has the Dollar podcast. These are all the people, okay? All the Democrats that lost. Let's go through this. Abby Finneker, did she support Medicare for all? No. Did she win? No. AOC, yes, yes. Anna Presley supports Medicare for all.
All right, we can read.
One election.
All right, isn't this the friend of Jimmy Dore? Let's go back to this video of Sam Cedar tearing into Jimmy Durr.
We moved to a working class neighborhood for 6 years. We got jobs at Amazon. We got jobs at food manufacturing factories. We talked to people. We met them. We organized on the job. We developed an analysis of the food supply to London. And then we wrote a 1,000-page book about what we did and about, exactly what workers need to be doing in order to build autonomous power. That is something I have not seen from Jimmy Dore.
Okay, but I mean,
That's an understatement.
but it is an understatement. Here's my point.
Wait. I think what is Jamie? She's in DSA. Is it Edge? Is it DSA Edge? Is that what it's called? I too am curious of Graham. I thought Amy was on Sam's show. I wish. Do you watch Closer Look on late night with Seth Meyers? I used to watch it a bunch. DSA Emerge. That's it. DSA Emerge. E. Something E. I'm a dumbass. What do you want? Why doesn't Amy collab? The whole thing about like collabing is that I don't have the confidence to ever be like, hey, check me out, see if I'm worth collaborating with. And I just feel like eventually collabs will come to me, and if they don't, then just work harder until they do. That's like my mentality. That's like literally my mentality. Like, don't put yourself in unwanted territory, because I know how I respond to rejection, and I don't respond very well. So it's easier for me to just push myself to do better, do more, get better. Eventually they'll come to me. That's the reason why I don't collab. Collab for a whole pizza eating segment? All right, you know what tomorrow is. Listen, I have been waiting for it. I love Pizza Sunday so much because I just like love tearing into like an entire half of pizza. You know what happened, Chad? I used to eat, like for a couple weeks, I was eating the entire pizza and I literally was going into a food coma. So now I have to cut that shit in half. But still, I mean, I love it. Except Professor Wolf, who you should contact soon. Okay. I want him. Perfect. Just like, you should talk to Lance from the Serbs. He seems cool. Yeah, Lance is my friend. Like, we've done collaborations and how's the elliptical going? How you doing, elliptical? You doing all right? It's doing okay. I'm looking right at it. It's all right. Okay, dude. What? I'm friends with most leftists on here. I mean, like, we're all chummy. We're not like best friends. We have like friendship bracelets or whatever. Are you an active member of DSA? No, I'm really not. I mean, I pay my dues, but I'm not an active member, unfortunately. Not anymore. You should collab more with K Swifty and Q. Okay, I'm down with that. I would love that. How much are dues? I think that you can do like a low income option and pay like nothing. That pays with no friendship bracelets? Not a real socialist movement. Why is Kappa Gold? What is this? I pay $5. I pay $5. Alright, so I pay my national DSA membership dues, and then I pay my LA membership dues. I pay both of them. Strimmer is a notorious friend haver. Okay.
Think about the population all the times you've been telling.
Walk your way out? What, Bill Burr? Don't debate denims. No one has ever survived a debate with her. Really? I saw that she was on the Hippy Dippy podcast. Proud of her. Hope she did well. I have my money on Amy, to be honest. Thanks, Carl.
That would be the equivalent of me saying, that is bullshit, because we just saw Jeremy Corbyn lose power. And therefore, their book didn't do anything. as opposed to like what vision of for people who want a policy set or a revolution or whatnot, what is the vision of where AOC or Cori Bush or that squad, the existence of those people there is problematic. No, it's like I can come up with you could say it's certainly insufficient, but and I think anybody who says like we've reached nirvana now that they're there, okay, we're done, that's also ridiculous. But in what vision of even the most radical change that you want in this country, when you talk about depolitization as a failure of imagination of what could be, in what vision of that is it not a good thing? Is it not a net positive to have people like that actually taking power, becoming the number 3 fundraiser in the country, becoming basically the most popular politician in the country or well-known politician in the country? Like, in what way is that a negative?
No, I don't think it is at all. I think it certainly couldn't hurt. It might be helpful. And I think there's really no way to know for sure, except in retrospect, how helpful it actually was. But I'm not mad at it.
But this is what bugs me. This is what bugs me about Jimmy Dore is he's not talking to those leftists. He exists to smear the left as naive about all this stuff. When, guess what? I've never said I'm confident we're going to take over the Democratic Party. I just see that that's where actually the work's being done. I don't see where the work is being done by any of these other people. I think the squad is actually one of the best signs for progress in the last decade, frankly, in a lot of demobilization. We talk about these massive protests, right? There's massive protests against the Iraq war. That still went on. We need to have serious, people to actually take power. And again, I think Jimmy Dore, he's not speaking to the left.
I think that the problem is that we have to work within the confines of electoralism, but think about what has happened in response to some of these mass movements, all right? The civil unrest. Think about what Occupy Wall Street did, where from Occupy Wall Street, we started to have an emergence of politicians who were starting to run campaigns to address the wealth gap in this country. Bernie Sanders used a lot of the rhetoric that we heard from Occupy Wall Street in his campaign run. All right, think about Black Lives Matter. Think about how many people registered to vote in the wake of the Black Lives Matter protests. Now, because we have to work within the confines of electoralism, like I mentioned, this is the reason why it seems like it's going to be such an uphill battle, because we know that it is a slow-moving process to get anything done, especially whenever you don't have control over both the House and Senate when we're talking about wide sweeping legislation. Then, to take it a step even further, let's say that we don't have a Senate who is gridlocking every single piece of legislation that passes through their desk. Right now, we see Democratic infighting of epic proportion, where we have the squad who are actually trying to write legislation and pass laws that is particularly in place to try to make the lives of their constituency better, all right, to be an actual service of the people, and that be the driving force for the vast majority of the laws that are either written, co-written, crafted, or sponsored by the squad. They are trying to make their constituents' lives better. They are thinking about the material conditions and the material outcomes of their constituency and the rest of the working class in this country, all right? So the fact that right now we do have this insurgency that we're seeing within the Democratic Party go up to bat against the Democrats, who by and large want to keep the status quo in this country, that is the number one issue that is making it difficult to see this wide sweeping change, to see wide sweeping legislation. That's why I say, once there is that constituency, right, that is being met, and there is more people who are seeing the benefit of having a member of the squad represent their district, then this is how we start to see this process speed up. I'm not saying that it's going to be completely like an expeditiously moving process. I'm saying that the more squad members that are taking office, that are proving to the rest of the country that it is better to have them as their representative than a Nancy Pelosi, then I do think that we'll see we'll see this process moving a little bit more swiftly. I hope. I could be wrong, but I do think that the more progress that's made, all right, the more confidence that people have in the squad, the more fast-paced this process could go. Albeit it's a very slow pace. It's been a very slow process. It's going to take a little while, but I think that eventually there could be an insurgency that turns into just a new wave of Democratic representation. And at some point, it'll be the Nancy Pelosi's who are the oddballs in the Democratic Party. I'm more of that 1917 squad pace. The squad has been squeezed out of political power. What are you talking about? No. Just because the Democratic Party doesn't hold as many House seats in this election cycle doesn't mean that the squad didn't lose their seats. They all came back. And there was, a few additions to the squad. What do you mean? Just because, we're starting to see a real response. We're starting to see a response from the corporate and establishment members of the Democratic Party because they're getting scared. The squad is growing. The squad poses a threat to even the corporate Democrats. They are trying to keep their class interests in mind as well. Any wide sweeping change that would truly redistribute the wealth in this country could impact not only the donors, the corporate sponsors of some of these establishment members of the Democratic Party, but they're pretty fucking rich themselves. Nancy Pelosi ain't broke. All right? So she might be looking at her wealth whenever it comes to standing firmly in her position as maintaining the status quo and nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. We got to keep that in mind too. We have quite a few members of Congress who right now might be in the business of refusing to lean into progressive changes in this country if their own wealth could be at risk. They want to maintain their own wealth as well. Watch John's daytime show, The Damage Report, then. John's show, The Damage Report, is blowing up. I like that show a lot. Run for office? I can't. I don't think so. I can't. That was a reply. Oh, okay. Mike Ox gone. Thank you for the follow.
Look at his comments. He's speaking to right wingers
Yeah.
that want to shit on the left all the time.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
I don't even like to entertain him as like a part of the left.
Well, I know. I mean that he's not a part of the left anymore, basically, and that's what happens when you feel you have created this brand of outrage towards the left purely, which seems disproportionate to the reaction and the his commentary on the right. I don't know. I don't watch what he does, but that's what
he
happens.
made fun of the Dilbert guy for having the exact same opinion about Donald Trump, but 4 years later. So there's that.
Right. It's a brand where you feel superior while offering no solutions, which makes you not a serious person.
Well, his popularity, I think, just goes to show you that people really are they're disillusioned and they're angry and they're looking for some way to funnel that into an analysis. And Jimmy Dore is providing a very simplistic one that might feel emotionally satifying, but
Definitely
what does it do
emotion
at the
is
end
a
of the day?
great
Yes.
Jamie, I think that's emotionally satisfying is exactly right. Like it's just a way it's not actual political analysis. It's just a rage.
It's almost
outlet.
like Dore has
Yes.
emulated the Trump style rhetoric, the Trump style populism messaging, and he is now using that to his own benefit, because it's true. Dore doesn't have like a well laid out comprehensive plan of action, right, in response to the slow moving incremental change that we're seeing, right, with the squad and the proposal of left leaning progressive change that's going to take a while because, again, We are working within the confines of electoralism. I think that it is just a way to placate so many people who right now are not only suffering because of their own material benefits or their own material conditions and the lack of benefits that they see right now from having a two-party system where the majority of the Democrats in office are not too different from the Republicans in office. This is the reason why many called the Democratic Party the Republican Light Party. So that anger and that frustration and seeing very marginal change occurring in our political system with the squad, it's not moving fast enough. We're not seeing a direct benefit right now. We're not seeing changes to our own material outcomes, and that is incredibly, I guess, to the detriment of so many people. And what's the word I'm looking for? The issue is that, the issue is that, so many people right now are at the mercy of something. Whether it be Congress passing another stimulus bill that will give us a check, whether it's a Medicare for all plan of action, whether it's something that we desperately need that would improve our quality of life, we don't get that. We don't see it happening. It's not in our purview. It's not on the horizon. Right? So we do need to feel like we can be placated somehow. And maybe that's what Dore does by kind of like using that Trump style rhetoric, almost emulating that to a T, but putting that leftist spin on it, or addressing these grievances through a leftist lens, an anti-establishment lens, an anti-electoralism lens. And that has been beneficial for him if he has seen an increase in his popularity. But again, what is he doing? He's just making more people angry. He's not leading them down the path of, okay, this is a slow moving process. If you want to see change, if you want to get help, know that there is a benefit to organizing on the ground. There is a benefit in joining your mutual aid organization. There is a benefit of looking to see if you can volunteer at your local food drive in addition to receiving food at your local food drive. He's not really using his platform in a way to help address the grievances that so many people are feeling and the alternatives to electoralism, like organizing on the ground, right? Like coalition building in your community, like volunteerism. And I guess that is the issue that I would have with Jimmy Dore. I don't think that it's productive to just feed into this frenzy, right? Without at least offer some opportunities that some could take, some avenues that they could take to turn this anger and frustration and reluctance to believe in the squad or believe in electoralism and do something on the ground. Use that energy for the good. Use your power that you have as an individual as part of a collective movement that might be occurring in your own community, right? Anyway, sorry. Another streamer was talking about whitening teeth, so I yeeted in here. Another streamer was talking about whitening teeth. Who? What? Jimmy Dore doesn't believe in anything anymore. Okay. So I yeeted in here where I knew that they wouldn't be talking about whitening teeth. Okay.
Yes. And I think
and often directed at women. I mean, that's kind of some of what I see.
Dore's a misogynist too.
I would say also that we got to keep it in perspective. I mean,
where
the reason
does
why
your
I talk about Jimmy
passion
Dore
for
is just
housing
because
rights
we used
come
to fish
from?
in the same pools, and I think less and less. But whatever it is.
Just learning more about housing injustice and how this capitalistic for-profit housing market system has completely led people down the road of destitution in this way and offering no opportunities to get back on your feet. There are no social safety nets. There's no housing programs in this country that alleviate the burden of experiencing homelessness in any meaningful capacity. Learning more about that just literally lit a fire in my soul that has been burning up pretty loud and proud ever since. So I typed in chat, it's okay to have imperfect teeth, then proceeded to yeet. Good night, Paul. Well, according to Emma, he is misogynist and racist. I like him a lot, but definitely need more evidence for those claims. Okay.
Whatever that show is with the from Crooked Media, the Pod Save America, they get a much bigger audience, right? I mean,
yeah.
And Joe Rogan gets a much bigger audience. I mean, it's not terribly dissimilar on some level,
Yeah,
feeding,
I got some teeth. You got some teeth, chat? If you don't, it's okay.
At least Rogan corrects himself.
I mean, he balances the equation so you can end like,
I don't think Rogan knows when he's wrong.
That's
I don't think Rogan knows he's wrong half the time.
He's betting on failure.
The same thing with it's exactly the same thing too with Alex Jones. It's just basically look, these people are they're changelings. They're in the Bilderberger. There is no cracking the code here until a candidate that will actually promote him decides to run, and then all of a sudden his whole edifice.
Yeah,
I'm
pretty sure. By the way, that Dore was affiliated with the Tulsi Gabbard campaign, and I don't really know.
Just hilarious.
And I don't know if that for a fact, but there were rumors that he was and didn't disclose it. So
well, his YouTube numbers certainly were.
Really?
I don't know.
That's interesting.
Well, I do know for a fact that he was very, very upset. Well, he was public about it. His whole thing was who's going to come on my show? And if they don't come on my show, then they're not good for America. I mean, honestly, what a child.
Maybe we should just invite Jimmy on. He can argue Tulsi's.
Jimmy has an open invitation to come on this program.
I just want to frame it this way.
I'll do a special episode, any time of the day. I'll pre-record. I'll record on a phone. I will do it. Any mechanism. He's had a 4-year open invitation to come back onto the show.
Yeah, and you get to defend the squad, and he gets to defend Tulsi and whoever is part of that squad. Absolutely. And we'll just see whose theory of change is better.
Yeah, this guy was his last thing. This guy pretends to be a leftist in favor of workers and was just not a nice guy to people who work behind the scenes at my old job. So really don't like him. Don't think well of him at all.
Salt the Amazon warehouse or STFU Jimmy Dore challenge.
There you go.
Well, Emma just spilling the beans on Jimmy Dore. How y'all doing, chat? You want to do a wellness check? We'll do a wellness check real quick. How y'all feeling? Tulsi is Hindu fash.